Hi everyone, today I just want to make a video around gambling and boozing and kind of how it's interlinked, and it's just one of those things again that popped up in the comments, and I think sometimes you just assume that you're the only one pretty much. There's nobody else out there like you. You obviously know that. I mean, it doesn't take really much thought that there must be somebody else out there in the world that's kind of got the same habits as you, maybe going through the same thing you are, but it's not really until I think you hear people speaking around it that are writing comments about it that are, similar positions to you. Maybe they're the same age or from the same area, and just you can resonate them. And the alcohol and gambling thing, I think, just seems to be linked with so many people, and it seems to be an issue that's just increases with drinking. It's not really rocket science. I think we all know our inhibitions and everything go out the window when we're drinking. Something that you think's ridiculous when you're sober, when you're at home not drinking, as soon as you get 2-3 drinks down you, all of a sudden it seems like a good idea and something that you won't regret in the morning. And I think gambling's definitely one of those things. And for me, I was born in 1983, so I'm 42 now, and I think, I always talk about it being booze Britain back then. Completely different time, an amazing time, don't get me wrong. There's still people in the comments that think I'm moaning about, the way I grew up or something, which is fair enough. Maybe they've only watched a snippet of the video and make that assumption, but that's fine. I think they're always going to be there, but it was just a brilliant time to be alive, just with the music and the no social media and just no mobile phones. The internet wasn't there, and it was just an amazing time to be alive. And we used to gamble a lot when I was younger. I think we'd have probably started in our secondary school, academy, or high school, whatever you want to call it. And you're about 12 years old, maybe when you're 11, 12 in the UK, when you start secondary school, and you're there with the big kids, and there was just a lot of gambling there. We would play a game called Coiny, where you'd throw a pound coin or 50p or whatever against a wall, and whoever's closest would throw them all up, and if whatever landed on heads you got to keep. And going into my 5th and 6th year at school, which is when you're a senior, you're about 16, 17, maybe some people are creeping on 18, that's when before you end up maybe going on to college or university, there was in the common room just blatant gambling, poker and pontoon and just every single thing, and the teachers knew it was going on. But back then, it wasn't really a big deal. People were maybe just losing a couple of quid and stuff like that, and it was just completely tolerated. And that kind of ended up, once you kind of 18, just like with the alcohol, you graduate into the pub. What would happen is that now you can actually go to the bookies, which would have been greyhound racing and horse racing and pretty much anything you can put on. And I think a lot of this revolved around the booze as well, because a lot of the time we would meet at the pub on a Saturday and you would have all your betting slips on. There was a thing in the UK with when the football was on, or soccer as you call it in the US, where there was all the games aren't allowed to be showed at 3 o'clock, but you could watch all the scores come in on the TV. I'm sure you've got the same thing in different countries, and you basically just watch a presenter go there, basically just commenting on goals coming through in different events, and you would be sitting there with your mates with all your betting slips on, both teams to score, maybe somebody to get a yellow card, maybe somebody to score a penalty, and then as soon as it's getting closer to the 90 minutes, it's getting a lot more exciting, and everyone's got their pints in. And I think that started off genuinely just a lot of fun, putting on £5 here, £2 here, maybe a tenner. You'd be playing the gambling machines as well in the pub, and it was just an all-round good day. And I can't really remember anybody, just like with the alcohol, it being really an issue. I mean, maybe one of your mates would lose 20 quid and you're thinking, that's a lot. But by then, I mean, some of your mates are doing apprenticeships, or they've went into full-time work, so they're not students. So it was kind of just a bit of the normal. But I think the big change was definitely when we started going to the casinos. And the biggest issue with that is as you know, if you've ever been to a casino, it's really, really easy to lose money fast, even though you can, in the UK anyway, compared to the big casinos in Vegas, you can put on small bets on the roulette table, but just everything goes out the window when you're drinking, and it just became one of those things that everybody did, where we went out in the pub and then we would go clubbing, and then the casinos would be open till 5 in the morning, and you can get food there. They still sell alcohol, so nobody's really going to go home at 2-3 o'clock, are they? And it started creeping earlier. I mean, people would go to the pub, people meaning my mates and, you know, many others, we'd end up going to the casino maybe around 10, 11 o'clock, because they just had that addiction to just go. And it's just not a great mix, as you can imagine. And it's just looking at the comments, there's just so many people, I think, fell into that trap where you would just go hammered, and all of a sudden you would think you're a billionaire. As always, you're, you know, taking out a couple of £100 and you're playing 3-star stud poker, which I used to love playing, even though it's the worst odds in the casino, I think. I used to love playing that, and my mates would be playing blackjack, and there'd be a big group of yous round the roulette table, and basically we just always end in tears. And the big issue now, of course, is that you don't even need to leave your front door. You can just log on, everyone gets those emails, it's constantly plastered across the TV in association with Bet365 and literally anything. The match ball sponsored by Poker Stars, and all the celebrities are now endorsing it, and it's just crazy. And I ended up falling into that kind of slippery slope where before you know it, you've got 2-3 accounts and you're getting all these introductory offers, and you just end up having that party for one, which I've spoken about before in another video, which clearly resonated with people because it's got over, I think, 55,000 views now and about 800 comments on it. And I'm going to make a video around my experiences with playing online poker drunk until 3 in the morning, and it's just not a great thing, I don't think, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere. And I remember so many nights just sitting here or other places I lived and playing online poker. That was my kind of thing. And what would normally happen if you've not played it, it was normally in US dollars, although there was Euro games as well. But maybe 100 people would join from around the world, 500 people, 1,000 people, and it's maybe $2 to get in for your chips, or maybe $5 or $20. And you can imagine the prize money if there's maybe a couple of thousand people from around the world joining. And, you know, sometimes you would win the first prize would be to actually go over to Portugal, for example. My flatmate in Norway won that a few times, where he won a seat in an actual proper poker tournament with flights and hotels included. But after a while, just playing one game doesn't become enough. Before you know it, you've got 3-4 games in the go. Then you've maybe got some side one-on-one games. If you've got 2 screens at home, you've got, you know, playing roulette on one screen and you're playing online poker on the other. And by that time you're hammered, so you're looking at what football games are up, and, you know, Botswana versus Gambia, under 18s are playing at 4 in the morning or something like that, and you're betting on that as well. And if you think the anxiety is bad just after a single night out on the booze, having a party for one, you can only imagine what it's like when you wake up and realise that you've lost a week's wages or a month's wages, etc. And it's just a terrible place to be in. I don't see it really going anywhere. The amount of tax that the government makes, of course, off the gambling. They don't tax the gambler here like I think they do in the US. The taxes come off the actual organisations, and they're all getting put up, I believe, different types of taxes. So the bookies and Bet365 and that will be paying even more tax. And it just seems to be another thing in our society that they're just turning a blind eye to because the money's raking in, and it's just becoming a problem. But I did plan to make a video outside today, but the weather in Edinburgh is absolutely shocking, and it looks like it's going to be it. But yeah, this kind of topic's been on my mind soon, and I'm definitely going to have a more deep dive into a few stories coming up, because yeah, I've been there before. Luckily, I have a few friends actually that, especially one of them that ended up, he was six figures in profit, and the betting companies would take him to events, etc., and down to England, big sporting events, and he ended up losing everything. And it's just such a sickness, I think, and it definitely just goes hand in hand with the booze in my experience, because it's something that I really wouldn't have done. Drinking, maybe put a couple of pounds on, £5 on, you know, a betting slip, 5 different matches, both teams to score, but then as soon as you're 10 drinks down, you're putting on $20 on red, and playing one-on-one poker matches with these people who are probably experts, just absolutely creaming you for everything you have. It's wild. But hope you enjoyed this video. I'll do a bit more of a deep dive in the future, and share a few stories in the next few days, hopefully. Anyway, take care, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.